Peace, everybody. Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. It's Hakeem coming at you, and today we're going to talk about UFC 236, which has a double title fight as the headliner. Well, two title fights headlining the card. First up, we got the interim middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Kelvin Gastelum, which should be a very good fight. Then we got a barn burner set for the interim lightweight title between Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. So we'll talk about the middleweight fight first, move up to the lightweight fight because that's how it's on the bill. Kelvin Gastelum is a pretty seasoned UFC fighter. He's been around since I think 2014 when he was on the Ultimate Fighter beating Uriah Hall, who was a heavy favorite going into that fight. He has a very unique style, blends wrestling with some very powerful striking to get his job done. And Israel Adesanya, also known as the Last Style Bender, is a kickboxing savant who is taking the UFC by storm with his highlight reel finishes and his crowd-pleasing style. So we got two guys that are going to come to entertain, very hungry, very capable. So we got to have ourselves a competitive fight on our hands. So a lot is being made of the height difference between Adesanya and Gastelum. And I believe it's a good 6 or so inches. Adesanya's at 6'4", and Kelvin Gastelum, let me look this up real quick, is, I want to say 5'9". Yeah, so he's even shorter than I am, but not by much because I'm about 5'10". So there's a large height difference here. So to give you a bit of perspective for you guys that have watched us for a while, when you see Rob and I stand next to each other, you see that height difference because Rob is also 6'4", and me being 5'10", you can imagine that as the difference between Adesanya and Gastelum. Now, the thing that most people really don't see when they talk about that difference is everybody is taller than Kelvin Gastelum. This guy's really short for the middleweight division. So he is very used to fighting people much taller than him. And the way he does that is with a very explosive striking and wrestling style. He can close distance really fast, and it helps him to get in there, laying hard punches against taller fighters, and also get takedowns when he needs to, because he can get down a lot quicker than they can, and he's already really close to their hips. So it works as an advantage to him in that department because of his explosiveness and his, close proximity to his opponent's hips. So the knock on Adesanya is that we don't really know how good his ground game is. He's been working on it because in his first UFC fight, the fighter took him down. I'm going to look that up real quick because I can remember the fight, but I don't remember the guy's name. Rob Wilkinson is that fighter, and he also had, a split decision versus Martin Vettori, which was okay. But then after that, he really started to come into his own against Tavares, against Derek Brunson, and then Anderson Silva. So he's had some guys that, and Brunson's actually a pretty good wrestler himself, but he was unable to take advantage of it. And I want to say it's because Adesanya has gotten better at utilizing his MMA range. Because like I said, this guy has competed a lot in kickboxing, and he's also undefeated in MMA with 13 finishes out of 16 wins. So he knows what he's doing in there. So I expect this to be a pretty competitive fight. I do think Gastelum will be able to get in and at least threaten for takedowns. I don't know if he'll be able to actually get them, but he'll be able to threaten for them, and the threat will always be there because he can fire those off for several rounds. He also can land a mean overhand and put Adesanya to sleep, We've seen him do that to a couple guys. Michael Bisping being the most recent one. So I do think that the varied striking of Adesanya is going to leave a bigger taste in the judge's mouth, because he'll be able to vary a lot of different kicks, a lot of different punches from different angles, and very creative methods to keep their attention and score points, even if he doesn't score a stoppage. So I do think this one goes a distance, and I'm going with Adesanya to pick up that interim belt. And he's going to have to work for it. This won't be a walkover fight. Kelvin's going to give him all he can handle up to that point, up to the end of the 5th round, and he's not going to stop trying until the end. He's just going to be slightly outclassed by Adesanya, who is pretty much the heir apparent to that division and to the superstars of the UFC. So we'll see if he lives up to that potential, or Gastelum can use that, surprisingly quick, explosive. His first step is lightning. Like I said, he can close that distance like a mofo and score a big upset, because I don't think he'll be able to win via decision. I think his win is going to come by stoppage, by catching Adesanya with an overhand while he's trying to be creative, or misjudging the distance from Gastelum and getting closed in and catching a mean overhand or a left hook, because he was knocked out in kickboxing via the left hook. So it can happen. So that's my prediction for that. Now, going into the lightweight title fight, this one is a lot harder to pick. We got the Diamond Dustin Poirier, who's been on a tear, and Max Holloway, who is the belt holder, the champ at 145, moving up to for this interim fight. And to say he's been on a tear is an understatement, because this man has not lost in about 5 or 6 years since he lost to Conor McGregor. And he's taken out a who's who of guys on his way to this fight. But so has Dustin Poirier. These guys have both gotten better. And, I should say that this is a rematch from a fight in 2012, which was Max's first fight in the UFC and his 5th MMA fight. Poirier won that fight via a very nasty submission, a triangle armbar from the mount, which was highly impressive in its own right. But since then, he has moved up to the 155-pound weight division and has had a lot of success there. Meanwhile, this is going to be Holloway's first trip up there, even though he is a very large featherweight. Still, he hasn't gotten used to 155. So he's got himself a very intriguing matchup with Poirier, because both guys are not going to see the guy that they saw 7 years ago. Both guys have gotten immensely better since then, which is what makes this fight so good. Both guys are much better. Both guys are operating on championship level. Holloway's proven so with 2 title defenses of the 145, knocking out Jose Aldo twice, and beating the stuffing out of Brian Ortega, who was a prodigy in the featherweight division. Now, both guys have a similar style, whereas they like to throw a lot of punches, but I think Poirier throws the heavier punches. He has much heavier hands than Holloway, but Holloway reminds me, if you're a boxing fan, he kind of reminds you of like a volume pressure fighter, like a Antonio Margarito without the hand wraps, because I know somebody wants to bring that up. Paul Williams, guys like that, more recently, who just amp up, or my man Jarrett Hurd, who is one of those guys that's always in your face, always throwing punches, and you just can't shake this guy no matter what you do. Holloway has excellent footwork to always be in position to throw punches, no matter he's orthodox southpaw, charging forward, backing up. He doesn't take a lot of backward steps, but usually, if he does, he's going to back, side, back towards you. and he's going to be in your face. MMA wise, he kind of reminds you of like a Diaz brother, because they are the same way, always in your face, excellent hands, great boxing experience, and they use that to pressure their opponents into making mistakes, wearing them out over the distance, or just piling on points until they just, till the match just ends. Poirier, I also believe, is a little more accurate with his, only because he doesn't throw as much. So we got guys who are very excellent strikers, but also neither are a slouch on the ground. And we know that from Poirier's submission of Holloway, because like I said, it was highly impressive when he did it. From the takedown that he scored to put Max on the mat, to his transition to mount, getting the side, going to the armbar, transitioning into the triangle, then getting him out again and going for that armbar. It was an excellent sequence. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Now, Max Holloway has had his share of submission victories since then as well. He submitted Cub Swanson, who actually beat Poirier. He submitted Andre Fili. And that's it as far as his submissions, but we know he has it in his back pocket. Is it better than Poirier's? That remains to be seen. We might find out. And then versus someone who was as well schooled in submissions as Brian Ortega is pretty much a non-factor. So, I think he got put down maybe once in that fight, or taken down once in that fight. He immediately was able to get back up. There was a brief scare where Ortega got his back, and like I said, that was very quick. He was right back on that ass, throwing leather, digging to the body. And I think that's something that's going to play a lot into this fight, is the body work, because both of these guys are well conditioned. They throw strikes up and down stairs. So, but I think Max does it more often, because like I said, he's a high volume striker and he likes to pump it up as the fight goes on. So I think they'll have more opportunities on the ground in this fight, because I think Poirier is going to try to go to the ground and test Max's ground game again. This one's going to be really hard to predict. I'm not really sure which way this is going to go. At first, I was like, hey, Max has gotten so much better. He's going to go ahead and school this guy. And I started thinking about the guys that Poirier's fought. He's fought Showtime Pettis, Eddie Alvarez twice. He's fought, I'm going to have to look this up, but I've seen all these guys that he fought, and they were good. They're real good. Justin Gaethje, how did I forget that one? Because that was a barn burner. Jim Miller's okay. Michael Johnson, who he lost to, still very good fighter. Yancy Medeiros is a guy that I like to watch. He did lose to Conor McGregor. I mean, no harm in that. It's Conor McGregor. He's one of the best guys doing it. Eric Koch, who's pretty good. He lost to Chan Sung Jung, which was a pretty good fight. But that was right after he fought Max Holloway. So like I said, loads of improvement since then. Same thing since his loss to Conor McGregor, which was in 2014. That's like 5 years ago. So we got a good one on our hands. I want to know what you think. Let me know what skills will the person you think is going to win employ to win that strap. And we can rap about it in the comment section. So hit me up in the comment section. Rob should be hitting you guys up with the boxing this weekend. We got a ton of it going on. Lomachenko versus Krolla. Shields versus Hammer. You got Peter Quillen fighting, what's my man? Caleb Truax. There's about 5 boxing matches going on this weekend, which, like I said, it's a lot going on. And Rob's going to bring you snippets of each of those. So stay tuned for that. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and get the alerts, hit the bell so you can get those, and then stay tuned for our recaps of said fights. And next week, Rob and I will be together to bring you all the Amir Khan versus Terrence Crawford fight. We're going to preview that one, so it'll be a lot of tactical nuggets in that one, and it'll be good to see my brother again and do this thing that we love, which is bringing you guys videos, teaching you the sweet science and the savage science of MMA. And we'll see you in the next video. Until then, fight on.
This is round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire, I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage, keep thinking that it's a game. I kick ground, hurricane. I told them I don't play, I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighters.